I'm 34 male, project manager at a logistics company in Ohio. Not flashy, not rich, but I'm comfortable. I save well, I spend smart, and when I love someone, I go all in. That last part is what got me into this whole mess. My girlfriend and I had been together for 3 years. We met at a mutual friend's wedding, hit it off over bad catering and cheap open-bar wine, and within 6 months, she'd basically moved into my apartment. She was charming when she wanted to be, funny, sharp, the kind of person who could walk into any room and immediately own it. I thought that was confidence. I know now it was something else entirely. Christmas that year, I went all out. Not because she pressured me, or at least, not in any way I recognized at the time. I just genuinely wanted to make her happy. I spent 3 weeks tracking down everything she'd casually mentioned throughout the year. A silk robe she'd pointed at in a magazine. A skincare set she'd screenshot and texted me with no context. Earrings she'd tried on at a boutique and quietly put back. And the centerpiece, an $800 Coach leather bag. Structured, beautiful. The exact shade of brown she'd admired on a coworker once while we were grabbing lunch near her office. She'd said, "I love that bag." I remembered it. I found it. I bought it. Total spent on everything for $1,300. I wrapped it all myself. I even did the little paper curl ribbon thing that takes forever and makes your fingers sore. I was genuinely proud of that haul. Christmas morning, she opened the smaller gifts first. The robe got a smile. The skincare got an "oh, nice." The earrings got set aside without a word. Then she got to the bag. She pulled it out of the box, turned it over once, and her face did something I'd never seen it do before. Not quite disappointment. More like offense. Like I'd handed her something embarrassing. "It's Coach," she said. "Yeah," I said. "The one you pointed out on your—" I wanted Louis Vuitton. I waited for the laugh. For the "just kidding, babe." It didn't come. She set the bag down on the coffee table like it was a problem I needed to solve. "You literally pointed it out," I said. "On your coworker's shoulder. You said you loved it." I said I loved the style. Louis Vuitton makes that style. Coach is just. She shrugged. "It's a starter bag. It's $800. Louis Vuitton starts at like $1,400. They're not even comparable." I just sat there for a second, looking at her, looking at the pile of unwrapped gifts around her, looking at the ribbon I'd curled by hand the night before. "Okay," I said, quiet and even. "Return it then." She blinked. "What?" "Exchange it. Take it back, get store credit, put it toward whatever you want. I'm not going to fight about a bag on Christmas morning." She relaxed a little. Actually smiled. "I mean, we could just swap it for the Louis. You'd only have to add a little." I said, "You can exchange it. I'm not adding anything." Her smile went tight. She picked the bag back up, suddenly re-examining it. "I mean, maybe I'll keep it. I don't want you to feel bad." That sentence. "I don't want you to feel bad." Like she was doing me a favor by accepting it. Like the $800 bag was a burden she was graciously taking on out of consideration for my feelings. I didn't say anything else that morning. We had coffee. We watched TV. But something had cracked wide open and I couldn't stop staring into it. Here's the thing about entitlement. It doesn't announce itself. It builds slowly. Looking back, I could count 100 small moments I'd filed away as quirks. The time she sent back a perfectly fine restaurant dish and made the waiter apologize like he'd personally offended her. The time she returned a birthday gift from my mother, because she already had one. The way she talked about her friends' boyfriends and husbands purely in terms of what they provided. He got her into that members club. He bought her a car for their anniversary. Always comparisons. Always scorecards. I hadn't connected the dots before Christmas morning. After it, I connected all of them at once. 3 days after Christmas, I went back through every receipt from that year. The Christmas gifts, her birthday trip to Nashville I'd funded almost entirely, the random, just because, purchases I'd made when she admired something in passing. The number staring back at me was uncomfortable. Not because I'd spent it, I could afford it, but because of what it represented. 3 years of me trying to pre-solve her disappointment before it arrived. That's when I made a decision. Not out of anger, or not only out of anger, out of clarity. I returned everything from Christmas that was still within the return window.
The robe, the skincare,
The earrings, the bag she hadn't technically rejected but had let me know was beneath her. Every single item, no drama, no announcement. $4,300 back across 3 cards. Then I called a local homeless shelter I'd volunteered at a few years back. Asked what they needed most. They told me warm clothing, hygiene supplies, and gift cards for families still displaced from an apartment fire that had hit a complex in November. I drove over that same afternoon and donated the full amount, split across those 3 categories. I didn't post about it. I didn't tell her. I just did it. She found out the way I didn't see coming. The shelter's social media coordinator, probably a well-meaning volunteer, posted a thank you on their Instagram and tagged the donors from that week. My cousin saw it, sent it to my mom sent it to her sister. Within 48 hours it had traveled through enough of our shared social circle that my girlfriend's best friend had seen it and screenshotted it. My girlfriend came home from work on a Tuesday and stood in the doorway holding her phone out at me like evidence. "What is this?" "Exactly what it looks like," I said. "You returned all of it and gave the money away." "Yes." Without telling me. They were my purchases. My money. All within the return window. She laughed. Not a real laugh. That sharp exhale she used when she thought something was beneath her. "So this is a power move. You're punishing me because I made one comment about a bag. You called an $800 bag a starter bag. On Christmas morning. After I spent 3 weeks putting those gifts together." I was just being honest. "I know," I said.
So was I.
She switched approaches fast. I'll give her that. Tears came next, real-looking ones. She sat on the couch with her head in her hands and said she couldn't believe I'd done this, that I'd made her look bad in front of people, that the shelter post was a public shot at her character. "I didn't post anything," I said. "The shelter tagged me. I had no idea they would." "But you knew what you were doing when you donated it." "I knew I was helping people who didn't have somewhere warm to sleep."
"Yeah."
She looked up at me. "This is so cruel." And there it was. The reframe. Me quietly reclaiming my money and giving it to people in genuine need. Cruel. Her telling me on Christmas morning that my $800 gift was a starter option, just honesty. I didn't argue the point. I said, "I think we see this very differently," and left it there. She left that night to stay with her best friend. And I thought that was the end of the acute phase. I was completely wrong. Over the next week, she ran a full campaign through our mutual social circle. I don't know what else to call it. She positioned herself as the victim of a public humiliation, a man who'd weaponized charity to shame his girlfriend. She was careful about it too. She left out the Louis Vuitton comment. She left out the word starter. She told people I'd surprised her with a bag she'd never asked for and then punished her for being honest about it. I found out because a friend texted me, "Hey, heard things went sideways. Something feels off about the story I'm getting." Then she called my mother, not to apologize or smooth things over, to tell her that I had publicly humiliated her and that she was worried about my emotional volatility. My mom called me immediately after and said, "She seemed like she wanted me to manage you." I told her that wasn't something I'd be doing. Then came the ask I genuinely did not see coming. She texted me, not called, texted, asking if I'd split the cost of a Louis Vuitton bag with her, as a way to move forward. Her logic, laid out over several messages, since I'd returned the Coach bag and she never got a Christmas gift, it was only fair we meet in the middle, on something she actually wanted. I read it twice. Put my phone face down. Went for a walk. When I got back, I typed one word, "No." She replied, "So, you'd rather donate to strangers than invest in your relationship?"
Got it.
I didn't respond. What happened next is the part one hadn't prepared for. She showed up at my apartment while I was at work. She still had a key, had for a year and a half, and let herself in. My neighbor texted me, "Your girl is here. Looks like she brought boxes." I left work early. When I got home, she was in my bedroom, and she'd gone through my closet. Not recklessly, carefully. She'd pulled out an expensive jacket I'd bought a few months earlier and set it on the bed. She'd pulled out a watch I'd had since college, a graduation gift from my grandfather, and set that on the bed too. She had her phone in her hand. "What are you doing?"
I asked.
"Looking at what's fair," she said. "You took back my Christmas gifts. I think I'm owed something." The jacket was mine, bought before she and I had ever merged finances, which we hadn't ever. The watch was an irreplaceable gift from my grandfather. "Put those back," I said, "and give me the key." She didn't move right away. She looked at me like she was running calculations. Then she said, "I think I deserve some kind of. Give me the key." She put the jacket back. She put the watch down. She took the key off her ring, slow, like she was doing me a favor, and set it on the dresser. Then she said, "You're going to regret how you handled this," and walked out. I changed the locks that same afternoon. I also called my building manager to note officially that the previous key had been returned and a new one issued, just to have it documented. 2 weeks later, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was a screenshot of a post in a local Facebook community group. I wasn't in the group and hadn't known it existed. The post was from her, anonymous, but with enough specific detail that anyone who knew us would recognize the situation immediately. She called it a cautionary tale about performative charity and described a man who returned his girlfriend's Christmas gifts just to make himself look generous online. She said she hoped women in serious relationships would watch for those red flags. It had 47 comments. A mix, some agreeing with her, some asking questions she wasn't answering, a couple of people noting the original poster seemed to be avoiding follow-up. I took screenshots, documented everything. Then I called my attorney friend, not to file anything yet, just to understand where I stood. He told me her post was carefully worded, feelings and interpretations rather than outright false statements of fact. Defamation in Ohio requires a demonstrably false statement of fact presented as true, not just a negative characterization. He said, "She's either done this before or she knows exactly where the legal line is." His advice: don't engage publicly, don't post anything reactive, document everything, and if she escalates to false factual claims, not just opinions, we revisit. Then I found something I hadn't noticed during the closet incident. While I was going back through my phone screenshots, just documenting everything, I found that she'd accidentally airdropped a photo to my phone while she was standing in my bedroom. A photo of my grandfather's watch, clear enough to identify the brand and model. I don't know for certain what she intended to do with that. Look up resale value, maybe. Build some kind of leverage. I genuinely don't know. But I saved it with the timestamp and added it to my file. Then her best friend reached out to me. We met for coffee. She looked uncomfortable the whole time, like she'd talked herself into something and hadn't fully made peace with it. She told me that over the past couple weeks, she'd overheard phone calls with her mother, that she wasn't supposed to hear. In those calls, my girlfriend had laid out a strategy. Use the social posts as pressure. Make me look bad publicly until I came around. She'd said more than once that she knew I'd fold because I hated conflict. Her best friend looked at me across the table and said, "I don't think she's actually upset. I think she's just used to this working." That one sentence explained 3 years of small adjustments I'd made without ever understanding why I kept making them. I went home and wrote an email. Not a post, not a public call-out. A direct email to her. I laid out the full timeline calmly and specifically. Christmas morning, the bag comment, the returns, the donation, the closet incident with the documented airdrop photo, the Facebook post with timestamps, and the information I'd received about her stated strategy from someone who'd heard it firsthand. I told her I had documentation of all of it. I told her I'd spoken with an attorney. I told her that if any future posts, anonymous or not, contained statements I could demonstrate were false, I'd be pursuing it formally. At the bottom I wrote, "I think you expected me to fold. I want to make sure you understand clearly that I'm not going to." I hit send at 9:14 on a Wednesday night. Her reply came the next morning. For words, "Please don't contact me." I didn't. Here's the part that closed the loop in a way I never planned. A week after I sent that email, I went back to the shelter to volunteer, regular Saturday shift, nothing special. The shelter had also been doing their own social media posts about the transitional housing project. One of those posts got shared into that same Facebook community group where she'd put up her anonymous, cautionary tale. Shared by someone who had no idea about any of our situation, just a community member who thought the shelter's work was worth spreading. People who'd read her vague post about a performative charity boyfriend now had a photo of me in worn jeans and a shelter t-shirt, standing in a fully furnished apartment we'd moved couches into all day. The comments on her original post started shifting. People started connecting dots she hadn't meant to have connected. Someone wrote, "Wait, is this about the guy from the shelter post?" Another person asked why the anonymous poster hadn't responded to any follow-up questions. The thread got messy for her in a way she couldn't manage because she was anonymous and couldn't defend herself without revealing that she was herself. She deleted the post by Tuesday. The mutual friends sorted themselves out over the following weeks. A few stayed in her orbit, people who'd only heard the early version and had no reason to dig deeper. I didn't try to win anyone back. The ones who mattered reached out on their own. I keep volunteering. Twice a month now. It started as a reaction to all of this and quietly turned into just part of my schedule. The watch sits on my dresser, same place it always has. After everything, I started wearing it more. Not to make a point, just because I'd stopped taking for granted what it meant to have something that was genuinely mine. The last thing I'll say is this: I never saw it clearly while I was inside it. The slow adjustments, the lowering of expectations, the constant pre-solving of her disappointment before it arrived. 3 years is a long time to recalibrate without realizing how far down you've gone. And what finally snapped it into focus was one sentence on Christmas morning about a bag. Sometimes clarity comes from the smallest, most specific thing. If you made it this far and felt even a little of that satisfaction, subscribe, because just like that donation, the best moves are the ones no one sees coming until it's already done.